Welcome to Anxious While Black, a podcast that explores the intersection of wellness, being Black in America, LGBTQ plus experiences, and just the ghetto-ness of young adulthood. Hi, I'm Emperor.
And I'm Tevin, and thank you for joining us on our 8th episode. Today we have two very special guests. Say hello to Terrell Green and Cooper the Queen.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
How's your day going?
My day's going good. I spent the morning mentoring some LGBTQ youth with the program that I mentor in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's admirable. Very admirable.
What about you, Cooper the Queen?
I have been up this morning working with Diversity Collective, my nonprofit that I work with in Ventura County, getting stuff ready for Pride this year.
Come on, Pride.
Come on, Pride.
Almost time.
That's right. So normally what we do to when we have guests is that we do like an icebreaker to get to know our guests better. So kick it off, Tevin. What's the icebreaker for today?
All right, so one question. What would you like to be known or remembered for when you're no longer here on this earth?
I can go first. I definitely, I am a shit starter, but in the best way possible. I'm the youngest child. Like I always say I'm the youngest child. So I was a kid that was always like, but really did that happen? And I feel like I take that into my adulthoodness. I'm always that person like, is that the truth? So I would like to be known as a professional shit starter for progress.
I love that.
That's awesome. And it makes me laugh because on the adverse, I'm the eldest child. So I always have taken care of everybody in every situation. And if there's one thing that I want to be remembered for is that I gave a damn. That in every situation that I walked into, I put my best effort forward for someone or an organization because I cared. So I gave a damn in this world.
I love that.
What about you, Emperor?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would like to be remembered for just giving our people a head start. I know as being, a Black man, especially a Black man in the LGBTQ plus community, that we start behind the start line a lot of times is not fair. So just working hard and leaving something for our people to go, great, now here's an advantage that we possibly have, or here's something that we can use, or here's some skills that the people before us left so we can propel forward. So that's what I like to be remembered by or for.
I think I want to be known by just making things of like, as a creator, just creating things that make a lasting impression.
Okay.
So whether it's like anything that I attach my name to, I always think what are people going to think about this? I just don't want to put anything out that just looks crazy, for the lack of better words. So just really putting myself out there and just creating things that people will be talking about for years.
I love that.
It wouldn't be Anxious While Black if we didn't ask, what's making everyone anxious this week?
What's making me anxious, I want to see what Joe Biden will be doing with this SAVE program that people apply for to put their grants in and consolidate it. I'm like, is it forgiveness or no? Because it's so vague. And I'm just like, Joe Biden, what are you doing? Because I got thousands of dollars on the line that I'm ready to be forgiven for.
I'm not going to even lie. I get an email every day on that like, we added a couple more months on there. I'm like, keep adding them. Keep adding the months on there. The closer I can get to forgiveness. Because, I just need some type of forgiveness in this world. I'm a gay Black man in America. I need some forgiveness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We built these institutions.
Yes,
okay?
we built the buildings that y'all sitting there making decisions for. Please, some forgiveness, I think what's got me this week, it's more on a personal level, looking at how things are being mitigated in different places over LGBT rights, and especially with drag performers and with non-binary and with children and youth who are trans, and how these states are still rolling these different things back. And also Florida and 6 weeks with the abortion rights. That I'm like, they just pulling. You think they're not gonna come for us next?
Right.
Yeah.
They're coming for all of
Right.
us.
Yeah, nobody's safe.
So nobody's safe. Anxious.
No one.
No, I saw. Right, I heard a quote from a black trans woman, and it was like, once they deny my rights, you think your rights are not next, and it's just such a true statement.
Yes, it is. What about you? What's making you anxious this week?
I guess I just planned a really big event this week. So it was kind of just like planning that and then coming back to do this.
Right.
It's just been a really busy and hectic week. And it's kind of just like, when am I going to have time to rest? Maybe tomorrow, but we'll see. What is rest?
What is right?
What about you, Emperor?
Mine's kind of falling the line of yours. Mine's is more so like, I'm learning how to, do hair just to kind of, extra money in my pocket on top of this. I'll probably get promoted in the next 2 months as things are opening up. And then, I'm working on music as well. So I feel like I just don't have enough time for things. And I feel like I wake up, I'm like, okay. And next, it's 2 a.m. I go, I just woke up. What's going on? And there's so much that's going on. So just like you said before, the lack of time and the lack of sleep is making me anxious this week.
That makes making me anxious every day.
It makes you anxious every day?
Every single day.
Goodness.
Speak that truth. Speak that truth.
Oh, gosh.
So, you ready to get into the topic of the day?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so today we're talking about using your creativity for a great cause or for a common cause. Terrell, how long ago did you reach out to us? Maybe about a month ago or so?
Yes, yeah, I reached out to you about a month ago about this show. Yes.
Yeah, and we're really excited to chat with you. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on.
Yeah, so my name is Terrell Green. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but I live in Los Angeles, California now. And I am a theater creator. And the piece that I'm working on right now is called Translation, a NU GWORL GROUP. And it's a piece that I wrote and premiered in Philadelphia in 2019. And now I've updated and I'm premiering it here and at the Hollywood Fringe Theater Festival in June at the LA LGBT Center's Davison and Valentini Theater. The show, it is a lip sync musical about the first BIPOC trans girl group to make it mainstream.
So where did you come up with the concept for this?
That's a great question. So I have loved musicals my entire life. And at the time that I wrote the piece in 2018, I was working at an LGBT wellness center in Philadelphia. And it was there that I learned a lot about the health inequities for the trans community. And one of them at that time that I learned about Pennsylvania healthcare laws was that there were some treatments that if it was specific to the gender you were assigned at birth, your healthcare wouldn't pay for some treatments if your medical card said gender that was different than the gender you were assigned at birth. So for something very simple could actually have a very impactful lasting impact on your health. And so when I learned that, my gay self was like, what can I do? I'm going to write a musical. And that's literally how this begun. And yeah. And so then I was like, not just a musical, but like what's really true to gay culture, lip syncing, So I was like, oh, a lip sync musical. I've never seen a lip sync musical before. And so then Translation came about.
That's really awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
How difficult has this journey been for you with the creating of it all and just spreading it and, just creating awareness behind it all?
Yeah. I think the toughest part is being, I'm going to say something shocking in America, Black. And what I mean is, being a Black producer. Well, first of all, in the Hollywood Fringe Festival itself, only 7% of producers last year were Black.
Wow.
Right. So people don't take Black producers seriously. They don't want to invest in your work. They don't think it's going to be something that's going to return on investment. They don't think that you have the skills or the technical know-how to produce work. They really only think that you're good enough to sing and dance in front, but rarely are we able to get a seat as producers. I have been shopping this show around since 2018.
Wow.
6 years.
And everyone reads it and they're like, it's so good. And I'm like, thank you. Next. And they're like, it's really good. And I'm like, okay, so what about producing it? And then the other thing I've always gotten is, how are you going to cast it? And I'm like, why? Because it has 4 trans characters in it. Is that why you think I won't be able to cast it? Help me produce it and I'll cast it. So I've had a real challenge that I faced is, I don't think people take Black producers seriously. I don't think people take queer stories seriously because they're like, oh, well, I guess only queer people can see this. And, this play explores the themes of intimate partner violence, trans health inequities, and also, the age-old battles of like, is it drag or is it trans? And can trans people be included in drag performances, right? So it tells a really universal story that I think, people, because one of the characters in the play is dealing with a cancer that my father personally was dying of. He's not a trans person, but I was able to link their stories in this story. So there's a lot of human in it. So people get caught up in, oh, is it a Black story? Is it a queer story? Oh, you're a Black producer. I don't know how to help you. So those have been the challenges that I've faced in really getting this piece done. But the trans community has been so giving and helpful in helping me get this piece done as an ally. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I think it's very interesting how they don't think our stories are that serious, or if they don't want to invest in our stories. Well, we pretty much help build this, country from our ancestors and us going forward. And, my thing is, if you're not sure about our story, won't you ask us? Won't you actually pay attention to what we're actually saying and what we're portraying? Or how about you just sit down and let's educate you for a second? Knowledge is power, but their own ignorance, unfortunately, sometimes blocks that. And it stops creatives like you and other people from like really expressing yourselves. Like, it's insane how they sit there and say, oh, it sounds great, this is beautiful, but then they don't want to invest in it. And, there's probably people out there who don't look like us, who probably could pitch something one time with half the talent, and they end up getting something. You've been pitching it for 6 years, but, I admire just your tenacity and you just, never giving up, because this really has to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, what it came down to is, I'm like, I'm going to have to produce this myself. I work in marketing,
right.
And I went back to USC to get a master's in marketing. And then once I went back and got that, I was like, okay, I can produce anything on my own with the power of the internet. And I'm tired of waiting on people. And so I hope to be a true example to a lot of other young Black creatives out there that like, don't wait, I'm fundraising like heck right now, and reach into all of your resources, right? Like, and don't wait. Don't let anything stop you from creating, because I was like, all right, y'all not going to help me do this. I'm going to figure out ways to get this done.
I have a question for Cooper the Queen.
Yeah.
Yes. What made you jump on board with this?
So my story is a little interesting. I have been for quite some time a drag performer. I live in Ventura, California. So just north, we call it Kentucky with love. But I have been a performer, a singer, drag performer for many years. And something that I've been exploring in my personal life is my identity. Now, I have a trans sister, a sister who was born originally male. And I got to see her as she's moved through her journey. But because she was moving through her journey, I didn't want to ever take the spotlight or steal the moment from her and say, oh, well, here I am too. But as I've gotten a little bit older in my life, we ain't gonna say exactly how old, but as I've gotten a little bit older in my life, I've been really exploring what that identity as a Black non-binary person means to me. And just a few weeks before, I got a mysterious call from Terrell Green. I had made this public statement of like, I just want you to know that I am Cooper the Queen. I am non-binary. I am all of the things that are beautiful in this world, and I want to honor that. And then mysteriously I get this call about playing this beautiful role in this play, in this lip sync musical. I'm like, let's see. I sing and I lip sync, and this person is me incarnate. So yeah, this is it. We're ready to go.
It sounded like it was a match made in heaven to me.
It really, we sat for about, I want to say 15 minutes on the phone. Just read a piece of it and tell me what you feel about it. And I was like, it sounds like me, my mama, and my grandmama, because I'm from Texas originally. So these characters spoke to me, and when you see it, you'll understand why. But she spoke through me.
Terrell, so did you have an extensive support system when you were initially drafting and creating your play, or did you have to find that support system along the way?
Honestly, I worked in isolation for such a long time because I was so afraid to share my ideas with people, either because I was like, they're going to reject them or they're going to steal them, right? And then I had a therapist who was like, you could share some stuff. And I was like, okay. And it was around the same time that I was working on this piece. And I knew that, I am a cis gay man. So I knew that there was no way that like I could truly tell this story in a vacuum, because like, a large percentage of the characters in this, it is a trans story. It is about a trans girl group, So at that time I was working at an LGBT wellness center. So I began to, reach out to some of the folks that I was working with, who I had started to make personal friendships with, and say, I'm working on this piece and I would love for you to read it. And not only did they read it, but a lot of them was like, so can I be in it? And I was like, oh, okay. I need to like get this done. And so, and so once I began to like, really workshop it, and they really helped me workshop it by reading it out loud, saying, and then I would hear the little, little words that they would add in subconsciously, and I would take them and add them into the script and be like, can I use that saying? Can I use that? And so I really had a solid support system of 3 wonderfully talented Black trans women in Philadelphia that really, really helped me get this piece to the performance part.
This question is for the both of you. How do you feel that the underrepresentation of marginalized groups can be addressed in the theater community?
You got to start putting the money where the mouth is. And in that sense, like Terrell said, we have a lot of stories out there being told around us. A lot of people are not allowing us to tell stories. The reason I was so drawn to it was that I was hearing the story from the mouth of someone who had a Black grandmother and a Black mother or a Black auntie who spoke like that. So I was feeling like I was being seen in that place. And the only way you're going to get authentic stories and get authentic real life where we're touching someone in the community is by having authentic people tell those stories and write those stories and produce those stories. So we need, we need to find more Black Hollywood in that sense, whether it be through the theater, whether it be through, all these different aspects. Like for me, I live a marginalized life all the time. Not only am I gay, non-binary, Black, I'm also a plus-size human being in a world that looks at it in a way negative. I carry these things with me all the time. And the one thing that I always say is I'm going to put myself fully forward, no matter what it is that I'm trying to do, so that you can see that however you try and marginalize me, I'm going to take that margin, I'm going to move it. In or out, I'm going to move that margin. So you can keep trying to draw lines for me, but I'm an eraser as well.
Mm-hmm. So I have been an actor since I was 12 years old, and I won't say how old I am now, but for a very long time. And then, and back in 2015 or 16, whenever Philando Castile was executed by the police, I decided to take a step back because that same day I had an agent. He sent me this script and he was like, "This is going to change your career." And this script was about this like one black guy in this all white show. And it was like about a bike shop in Brooklyn. And I'm like, "Do you not see what's happening on the news right now? Like, I can't even read this script right now. I can't even like focus as a black man in this country." And he didn't get it. And that was the day that I was like, you know what? I think I can't be an actor anymore. Like, I think I have to step back and like write stories, right? Like, and produce, right? Because I think that's the true way to change, right? When, in 2020, when I was living in Philadelphia, I was a part of a group of people that called out the theater community in Philadelphia because, we were seeing that all of the producers, all of the executive directors, all of the artistic directors, right? All of these people in the decision-making positions were white men, and then right under them were like white women. And then like the only time black people were visible was like on the stage singing and dancing, but then it got even deeper for me, right? As a black person, I'm like, okay, cool. So at least we're singing and dancing. Because I started to look around. I was like, but where the Asian actors at? Where the Latino, Latinx actors at, right? Like, where are these other people at? I'm like, it's a black and white thing, but like, I'm like, we live in America, right? Like, where's everyone at, right? And so then I said, I want to start writing stories for people that I don't see on stage, right? Because that's the only way we're going to see them on stage. And so that's when I started to write these really different, diverse stories about people that were not like me, but had similar stories. But I think the true way to change it, right, is to have more people, and I'm only going to talk about black people because I'm black, so I can only talk about that experience, right? But like more people that are black that are in these decision-making positions. And I'm not talking about like director of outreach, director of like engagement, because that's just code for like deal with the community, right? Like, cause I'm always as a black arts administrator, I'm always putting those roles, right? Like deal with the community. And I'm like, no, like, let's make it bigger where the black person is the artistic director. Here in California at the, I think it's the Geffen Playhouse, Terrell M, the writer of Moonlight, is now the executive or the artistic director. This year alone, they've had one of the best seasons that they've ever had because he is picking refreshing new work, right? From people and telling new stories, and people are like, this is crazy. What's happened? I'm like, you've expanded the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happened, right? Like, so I think it's that, right? Just letting, stop remaking the same stories, right? Like, stop doing Annie, stop doing Funny Girl and Annie, and they're great, but like, we don't need to see it again, right? Like, when we have people like myself and so many other people out here writing stories every day, because that's how they're escaping their lives. Like I wrote to escape a very dark life, and so that's why people are like, thank you for telling your story. And I'm like, right, because I write human stories, right? And so that's what I think it is. Is, like, we got to change who's making the decisions.
I agree with you 100%. Just piggybacking on what you said, with just, us hearing our stories, right? Like, we don't want to see another Annie or a remake of a remake of a remake. And, I've seen a lot recently where they'll try to change the character of a traditionally white, movie or play and put a black person in and goes, oh, here you go, here's your representation. I goes, no, it's just us playing, a traditionally white character, and you kind of put a band-aid on it and say, hey, here you go. I'm like, there's so many stories that you don't know. Like, you don't even know, like, our stories, right? Or if you see something, and I hate to say this, like, they'll throw us in something like slavery, and then someone gets nominated for, like, an Oscar or something. I'm like, we have more stories outside of slavery. Yes, that's part of our culture, but, like, let's dig deeper into that, right? Like, What do our trans people go through every single day? What do our black men go through every day being in a corporate America, being looked at a certain type of way, who when he has natural hair, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like, this kind of like, let's try different things and, you know, let's shake the foundation. Or why can't we have something where someone who is black sits at the top and we're running things and you guys are listening to us? Like, why can't we not lead? So, you know, I'm just really excited that you are, you know, shaking the foundation right now with this, because it's going to help educate those who aren't educated, but also for us to see representation. Like growing up, I don't know about you, but I really didn't see a lot of me. And if I did see someone like me, they played like a supporting role, or they had like 3 lines, or they looked a particular type of way that I didn't see myself translate on in television or in plays. So I definitely applaud you for opening up this space for us.
Yes, thank you. And you know, the first time I had a black director, see how long I have to think about that? I'm like, the first time I had a black director, dang on it, I don't even know, you know, like I'm thinking about it, you know. I say I'm turning 34 next in a few days.
Well, happy early birthday.
Filmed, but thank you. And I think the first time I had a black director, I was like 28, and I had been performing since I was 12. You know? Yeah. That's wild, you know. And then, you know, I hear, you know, I what I love about this play translation is I'll talk about it as I go out and promote it, and a lot of people will tell me stories, right? And so one person told me a story. They're like, you know, thank you for writing this piece, because, you know, they are trans identifying, they are an immigrant, and they have a parent who is and they're an African immigrant, and they have a parent who's here, and they're an illegal immigrant. Their parent, like, they're here illegally, right? And so, like, that intersection is something that I'm like, wow, like, we don't think about these things, right? But like, this is their life, right? They are constantly living their life in fear of their parent, you know, dealing with, you know, immigration, right? They're dealing with the intersection of like, I also have to hold up the multiculturalness of like my African traditions, but also I'm the firstborn American, right? Like, they have so many things they're dealing with, on top of that being trans, on top of that being queer, right? Like, and so like, talking about this piece with people has opened up my eyes, you know, and conversely, right, I was talking to a woman who identified who was identified as she was a white woman, and you know, she's like, thank you for writing this piece, because you know, my child, you know, came out to me as trans at 5, and they're 14 now, and we lived in a community that didn't accept anybody. And she gave me a look, and I was like, oh girl, I know what you're saying.
Absolutely.
You live in the OC, okay? No, but like, she gave me that look, and I was like, I get what you mean. And she was like, and for the first time, I had to look at my community and say, do we belong here? And she gave me another look, and I'm like, and girl, I know what you mean there, you know? And it's just amazing to see that a piece that's focusing on a marginalized community, right, or a community that doesn't get a chance to be represented, right, is bringing out so many stories and so many different people about like a time they didn't belong. And right, like, that's a thread that I think that we don't talk about a lot as people. It's like the sense of belonging, right? The sense of being visible, you know?
So you mentioned like people coming up to you and you speaking about your project and your story that you're working on. So have there been experiences where you faced like a lot of backlash or negativity? Because as with any groundbreaking type of thing, any like going against the guard, that's bound to come.
Yes. So mostly online, you know, everyone is big behind the screen. So I don't,
we know.
No one has come to me in person, right? No one has come to me in person, but I am from Philly, so bring it. You know what I'm saying? And I also work in marketing, so all press is good press. So I'm like, bring it, okay? But no, and so I have experience, but oddly enough, you know, algorithms online are very racist and biased as well. So I just want to point that out, right? And so, yeah, okay, right. So I had, you know, an ad performing on Meta that presented this piece, you know, and talking about it being about BIPOC trans women, and it showed images from the last production of it. Well, that ad performed very, very well. I mean, it did get a lot of pushback. It's like people were messaging me and saying cruel things in the comments, right? And so it was getting engagement, but then Meta took it down because they said your ad is suggestive and sexual in nature. And I was like, wait, an ad promoting a play that just is showing Black trans women dancing on stage is suggestive in nature and sexual, and it got taken down. And I was like, oh, yeah. So it's moments like that, or in the targeting, on the back end, because it's in digital marketing, when you're targeting it, there's been a lot of things that Google or Meta rejects in terms of keywords that I want to put in, Black trans musical, right? Rejected. I'm like, why is that rejected? But you'll let me put in negative terms about, Black trans people. Yeah. So it's been those are the moments that I've been learning about as a producer. But from the public, there's been a lot of trolls. But again, I say bring it, because that's what this piece is about. Like, there is a character in this piece, and his name is Joe, and he is transphobic, he's homophobic, he's racist, he's xenophobic, he's all the
everything.
isms and all the phobics. Mm-hmm. But guess what, though? He's the physical representation of America, of the system, right? Like, he's the physical representation of the industry, because he's also the owner of the girl group's record label, and he's their manager. So while he actually is spewing hate to them the entire show, right? Like, he also owns them and makes a lot of money off of them. So he represents, right, like the industry, right? Like how they treat artists of color, how they treat LGBTQ artists, right? Like how, how they glamorize these stories, but exploit the artists themselves, right? And so the actor said to me, the actor who's playing it, Marco Pera, is like a really gentle soul, a very talented actor, and was like, I can't say a lot of these words, and I'm like, no, you have to, and because you have to, because the realization I had was to tell an LGBTQ story, and especially an LGBTQ story of color, then even deeper, a Black LGBTQ story, is one that unfortunately is veneered with hate and hateful language and violence, right? So I said to him, you are actually doing the Lord's work by playing this character, because a lot of people would have to sit in the audience and be like, did I ever say that? Damn. Is that me? Right? Like, and so like he's holding the mirror. So I know that kind of went on a tangent, but it's like, it's actually important to pay attention to the backlash, right? Because I said to him, you represent a lot of America, a lot of the world, right? There are more LGBTQ haters, right, than not, and I said to them just a few weeks ago at the gym, two dudes in the sauna shirtless are like, let's talk about the gay agenda. And I'm like, that's a really great topic to talk about, shirtless in the sauna, as you straight men, you bros. While the gay dude and the shorts are in here, I'm in short shorts, so I'm like giving it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, sure, let's talk about the gay agenda, bros. So, but I say it to say that, like, the backlash, and I'm happy for that question, because like that character, a lot of people could say like, I can't deal with that character. I can't hear the language, but it's like, no, to hear an LGBTQ story, to hear a Black story, to hear a story of color, unfortunately in this country, there is hate and violence, and backlash.
So when either of you are like promoting the play online or anything, how do you both fight that negativity that may come your way, or be able to just let it, I guess, go right past you without affecting you and affecting your day?
I think for me, I've spent so much time listening to people's negative comments that eventually I had to say, selectively, I hear you. But mentally, I don't give a damn what you say. because I know who I am and what I represent. And for me, this story in particular needs to be told in this rawest form because that's the hate we're getting. That's what we're getting in the world. So I don't really listen. I'm old. I'm gonna tell you that. We say it all the time. Black don't crack. It did not crack. It did not droop. It did not frail. So um, I've been in this world a little bit longer to understand that no matter what you're going to do, people are going to find some reason. Some people will find some reason to hate it, but you're not doing it for those people who are trying to find some reason to hate it. You're doing it for those people that are trying to find some piece of it to adhere to lift them up, to give them something. So take that and put them people to the side because they're going to be there no matter what you do.
True.
That's true.
Let them drum up engagement so that those few little children, those few black males or trans people that are out there in the world that are being able to see it because these haters have drummed up more engagement. Great. Thank you.
And I come from a marketing background, so I'm like, please, give me the hate online because I'm going to take it, I'm going to make it into a meme, and I'm going to get likes off of you, and I'm going to get engagement off of you.
That's true. We kind of did something similar to that with in our last episode where we read some of the hateful comments some people have said, and we made it into a reel.
Yes, we did.
Probably it was our highest engagement.
It was one of our highest engagement, episodes. Just putting it up there, and then when we did that, I call them keyboard warriors. People want to go behind keys and they always type, and have so much to say behind the screen. But the engagement, had our, viewership go up, and we got more people to subscribe because it sucks that the negativity is what makes that happen. But again, you sending your negative comments open up a world for those who actually was looking for an outlet, go, oh, I never saw this before. Let me look into it. And then it happens that way. So it's the best of both worlds. Like you said, there's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah, you can really, play on the compassion, and I'm using a marketing term by saying play on, but you can really, engage with the compassion of people by exposing the hate of others, right? Because people are like, whoa, 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 that's not cool. Because also I'm like, I'm not going to engage with you. I'm going to leave the comment section for you. That's what you want.
I had something like that happen actually last year. So outside of all of this, I do drag queen bingo. I do all these different drag events, and I got invited by a big company to do story time during Pride Month. And one of the local newspapers picked it up and they said, oh, we want to write an article. And I said, let me see your viewership. I'm like, ooh, conservative America. Okay. Well, they went ahead and wrote the article. They put my job, they put my title, they put where I live, they put everything that I have done. They went back in the archives and found the pictures when my makeup was rough.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
And they put that all, they blasted
They
it
tried
all out there. And I was just like, okay. And my friends were like, what are we going to do? My friends were literally crying. I'm like, babies, don't cry. Listen, post, post, post. Next thing you know, all the compassionate people were there. The company said, we want to pay you more money because you got us more engaged. So I ended up making more money off the gig.
Right.
And I still read to the kids. Mm-hmm. And they were edified.
And the words of Dr. Jackie from Married to Medicine, turn your pain into your purpose. Okay.
That's true.
That's true. As we know, hate normally starts from it's taught to children. So what advice would you have for people when they're like raising their kids to like not teach, even if like as an adult, they already have like their preconceived notions? What advice would you have for people not to ingrain that in their children so that their children can actually be better contributing people to the society instead of trolls online?
Okay. I'm known as Gunkle Cooper. I have lots of little friends, lots of little families around. And one of the big things for me has always been to be honest with your children about who the people in your lives are. Be honest. My nephews who are like 4, 5, and 11 now, they've seen Uncle Cooper, they've seen Cooper the Queen, they know the difference between, oh, that's Uncle Cooper, and that's Cooper the Queen who's out performing. Those are both it, and he's cool. Because, people are just cool. They're fun, they're creative. My whole world has been about, pushing the boundaries and letting you know that you are a valid human being. And what we should be teaching our children is they are valid as they are. They don't need to look like this person. They don't need to act like this person. Who they are as the human being is enough. And that's what we need to start. If we can teach our children just that one thing, this world will be so much better off. Because that's what we're fighting. Everyone has to be better than someone else. Or they have to be bigger, they have to be smarter, or they have to look a certain way that looks better than the other person. But in reality, when they close that door, we are all the same. When they call us to call us to the upper room, we gonna all be judged the same.
That is exactly why I cast Cooper in the role that Cooper is cast in, for that line right there. I think as a writer, one of my favorite quotes is by a playwright, Bertolt Brecht, and he's writing about Nazi Germany, but he's writing and saying, "Please look beyond your nose." And that quote means so much to me, like for folks to be able to look beyond their nose as a writer is all about holding that mirror up to people to say, do you remember the time when you felt this way? And I think, that's a really important thing to remember. It's like, think about a time that you didn't belong or a time that you felt like you didn't fit in and how that made you feel. And apply that to so many other situations, because it's like, that's really, we're all fighting to belong, we're all fighting to matter. And it's like crazy when we ostracize other people, because it's like all of us at one point or another, whether it's because of the man you was dating, the boss you had, somebody made you feel not worthy enough, right? Like, so do you pass that on? Because the true flex is actually being kind in this really hateful ass world.
No, I definitely agree with you both. Just again, educating the youth is extremely important. Again, I was given some gems growing up saying like, listen, you're going to have it tough because you're a black man. Before they knew I was gay, but you're a black man and your name is Emperor. You think they're going to like to call you that? Like, it's already that already. And you're already intelligent. So there's going to be some things going. And, I don't know if you guys can attest to this as well. Being a dark-skinned man growing up was also an extra thing. So, luckily I had a few women around me, black women, who said, listen, baby, right now, they don't see it. They want to chase someone who's lighter and brighter, but when you get older, trust me, they're going to be on you. And, as a teenager, you kind of kept that in the back of your mind. I'm like, okay, she said it. When's it going to happen? What's going to happen? And then, one day I saw it. But I feel like if I never was given those tools as a child, I probably would have been, we all are insecure in our own ways, but I think I probably would have been extra insecure and probably do some things that is not true to myself. So yes, it definitely starts with us, like letting the kids know and being honest, like this is who it is. Like, being Guncle Cooper and Cooper the Queen, like I'm still a great person. And for them to be exposed to that and not see that in a negative connotation way. So I want to flip something with you guys. I know you said that, the youth. What about the generations that are older than us? How will we educate them and show them that, maybe the way you guys are thinking is not the right way or conducive to growth?
I do have one of these. So in my regular job, I work as an advisor in university. And when I started my job, one of my coworkers came to me at one point, and we were having conversations and we were talking about our upbringing and our families. And they brought to me the attention that they, had grown up very Christian and very conservative in that sense. Like, deep blue, deep red state, just like real conserves. And I was like, oh, okay. I could either, and at that time I'm like, I could either draw back and protect myself, or I can try and build a bridge and a relationship with this person. And that's what I decided to do. I said, you know what? You've stepped into this role. Now be the leader and be the person that you always profess to be, even in this moment. And I didn't hide anything. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's great. I grew up Christian too, but I'm also a drag queen, and I'm also a performer, and I'm gay, and I have male partners. And at first, I knew it took her aback, but over the course of time, she's like, you know what? I remember one time I wanted to go to a pride festival and help table, and they told me I couldn't. Am I letting people make decisions for me that I should be making for myself? I'm like, you probably are. Yes. And she's like, you know what? I went on TV and I watched a little bit of RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, some of it wasn't for me. Some of it wasn't for me. They was wearing not enough clothes. But that was some real talent. Is that what you do? I'm like, yeah. Would you like to see some videos of what I do? Now, if I'm lying, I'll never take another breath. Me and that woman talk every single day. She is one of my best friends in my company. She is one of the best allies around. She makes sure that everybody in our community is seen for who they are, and she tries to help. But we've been together 5 years, and that change has changed the lives of so many of our students who now feel like they have more of a scene. We have a student who just came out to us as trans and is now living their life fully out, and their family is, not there for them, but they know they have a community with us. So what you can do is honestly be yourself in that thing and be in that space. And for good or bad, that can make a difference.
Yes, yes. I'll answer this a little more personally. You know, there's a real generation divide in my family. There's like a much older generation and then just sort of like millennials, and I think one of the things that I would love to see, it's never too late to be vulnerable. Never too late to be vulnerable. Like, I just want to say that to like a lot of the older Black population. I think a lot of the millennial population could benefit from seeing a lot of our Black elders be a little bit more vulnerable with us. And I even feel like that's not a judgment, y'all, because they're like, who you calling not vulnerable? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a judgment, Nana. But I would love to see you more vulnerable. We need that because, I feel like no one really, like, I feel like they told us it's going to be tough, you're Black, but I feel like no one really was like, no, the world's against Black people. Like, I don't think no one ever said that to me. Like, plainly, like, I'm like, everywhere I go, it's a problem, like, I got 99 of them. I get it. Jay-Z told us, I guess, but yeah, I think, but because I think they've had to be in this fight mode for so long, like, I think that's what I've understood about a lot of the older people in my family is like they've had to fight for so long that protective layer is thick, like, and it's not going anywhere. But I would love to see more vulnerability within the families.
Yeah, if I could throw off that, that's one thing I felt like I was very blessed with. My biological mom and her mother were kind of my best friends, but my mom struggled when I came out. Like, it was knockout, drag out, fighting. And it was the vulnerability of my grandmother who would come over and be like, Patty, what's wrong with you? This baby just gay. Ain't nothing wrong with him. He just like the boys. And when it's time to get it, he gonna get it with the boys, Patty Ann. Just let it happen. And eventually my mom said, I had just seen so much hate in my world. Being an ex-felon, being a Black woman. I saw that, and all I wanted for you was safety, love, and security. And for a minute, I saw that go away. But then I had to remember you were still the same beautiful child, and it was me who changed. And she apologized. And in that moment, we became so much of a stronger unit. And that's where I got my backbone from. That's where I pulled it from. And I know it's hard for black folks to say, especially older black women. We see the memes every day. But sometimes the simple, vulnerable phrase of, I'm sorry, baby, can make a huge difference.
It's interesting because when I came out to my mother, I told her that I'm still the same exact son that you have. I just can be myself more with you. I think like by me saying that to her, that helped her to understand it a little bit more. And we didn't really, I'm fortunate enough to where my mother didn't disown me and she accepted me. But I think just like giving her those reassuring words really helped her.
Yep.
So last question for Terrell. You have anything else planned after you are finished with this project?
Well, fingers crossed if this project is submitted into a few other potential festivals that could take us through the summer. So fingers crossed, that would be amazing. I do have a piece that I wrote before that I'm looking to revisit. It's called Blackberry, and it deals with a black girl who gets impregnated by an Iranian young man, and a time that they have a new president who is making all the Iranians leave the country. So I did that in 2017. And so I'm thinking about redoing that again. But I also have a one-man show that is a short film called Must Go On, A Rite of Passage. It's my coming out story and my coming of age story. And that's told through yoga, spoken word poetry, and monologues.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So why don't you just let everyone know again where they can catch the show and give them all the details?
Yes, so Translation, A New Girl Group will be presented at the LA LGBT Davison Ballatini Theater on June 13th at 11 p.m. That's a Thursday. On Friday, June 21st at 8 p.m. And then Sunday, June 23rd at 2 p.m. They can find tickets at tmgreen267.com/translation. All the ticket information will be there.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
This was actually a really, really good episode.
Yeah, very powerful.
I loved it.
Thank you, Terrell and Cooper. Thank you both for joining us. We really appreciated your time.
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Follow at AWB Pod on all platforms. Visit anxiouswhileblack.com for more on the show and for access to important resources. Listen to all our previous episodes on any platform or watch on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. And see you next time.
See you guys next time, and thank you for tuning in.
Bye.